All right, y'all. Well, we're gonna get started. I'm gonna let you guys trickle on in because this is Tuesday, and it is none other than it's Black Table Read, y'all. We're back in full color,
Yeah.
and we're so excited. Last week we took a little reprieve. It was the election, and we didn't know what was gonna happen, so we said our piece. If you didn't get a chance to check that out, it's still on our Facebook page, also on wherever you listen to Spotify. I mean, wherever you listen to podcasts, which is on Spotify as well as Apple podcasts on YouTube. You can go check out what we thought about the election and everything. But now we're back. We're live, and we are so thankful for you guys that continues to tune into our shenanigans. For those who don't know me, I am Mr. Jarius Clyde, one of your hosts, and to my, depending on how you're looking at the screen, to my right or my left is Lydia Aku, and this is Black Table Read. So, if you are a first time, welcome to the show. Catch up if you can on some previous episodes. But we're always going to start our show with our one of our favorite segments, which is the Black Top. So we talk about everything from sports to pop culture to things that are happening in the industry. We talk about it all. So Lydia, you want to take it off for right now?
Let's do this. So, my people, for all of my folks who ever had that moment where, whether it was like a breakup or whatever, and you search for the meme with Angela Bassett as she tortures all of her man's things. But before this, she says, "Get your,
Get your,
and get out." 7:30.
and she look as she swipes for me.
Baby, she took that radio flyer, that little wagon, and willed all that stuff out.
Talk about a
You may be in luck.
wheel.
We may not get that scene back, but we possibly may have a sequel, a Waiting to Exhale sequel. Miss the lovely Loretta Devine was recently on the Tamron Hall show, and she kind of hinted at a possible sequel where it will be the daughters or the kids of the four ladies. And if you remember in the original, Layla Rashawn's character was pregnant at the time. Remember when Leon came to the door and he's like, "What you want me to do?" "Do what you do best. Disappear." So we know that a baby was in that one. As far as Loretta Devine's character, I don't know, because Tariq went off for school, so we don't know how that storyline's gonna go. Of course, Angela Bassett had her two kids, and Savannah, who was Whitney Houston's character, she kind of had to find herself because she was messing around with the Nationwide guy, and he had a child, but it wasn't theirs together. But anywho, so we shall see how that goes. I mean,
Yeah.
I definitely saw one of those films, saw that film as one of my inspirations for sure. Just seeing four beautiful Black women grace the screen, along with beautiful, Black men, Donald Faison, Gregory Hines, rest in peace.
Yeah.
So we will see how that goes. I know they were talking about it some years back when Whitney Houston was still alive.
Yeah.
So we gonna see if that's gonna pan out, but
I'm
I'll
trying
be
to think
excited.
who the director was for that. Who was the director for that?
I can't remember, but shoot, Babyface, he did his thing with the soundtrack, of course.
It is, yep, Kenneth Babyface Edmonds.
Mm-hmm.
Forrest Whitaker.
Forrest Whitaker, yes.
Wow. I think
Yeah.
that was his, if I remember hearing something recently, that was his first like directorial debut was Waiting to Exhale, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken. I mean,
Because this is around the time that because that was what night. I think this is was this before he did Jason's lyrics, because I know he said that was like an influence into doing,
Terry
doing a
McMillan
film
as
such as
one of
that.
the
Yeah.
writers. I mean,
Terry McMillan. My mom lived for Terry McMillan.
it's a groundbreaking thing, and one thing that she talked about in the interview is how basically Waiting to Exhale is kind of the groundwork for everything that comes after it. So like the living singles, the girlfriends, the insecures, like everything that basically showcases the girlfriend type aesthetic was
Right.
based off of that, they're friends and they have their own stories, they intertwine in some way. And
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, I'm excited for it. Something like, I think we have a lot of young upcoming Black talent that could definitely,
We
I
sure
wouldn't
do.
say
They are
not
doing.
fill in the shoes, but Lydia's like audition, yes.
Mhm. Okay.
But
But
I don't think the shoes will ever be filled, because I mean those ladies are phenomenal. Even, I mean, the late great Whitney Houston. I mean,
Mhm.
she was one of those who could sing, act, and kind of do it all,
Mhm.
which was great. So I think it'll be, we need a new generation of something.
Yeah.
I'm not always fan of reboots and whatnot, but sometimes I think when you have a new generation, you need something that kind of cements it as
Mhm.
as a forerunner. So I
Yeah.
think something like that would be dope. So okay, all right, Loretta, dropping hints.
Dropping dimes, dropping dimes. For my SNL folks,
Hey,
this past weekend was definitely one that
going for the books.
is definitely for the books. Your man Dave Chappelle graced the stage, graced the hosting um, stage once again for exactly 4 years
Hmm.
after he hosted it before after the last election, and this time he in true Dave Chappelle fashion
True Dave Chappelle fashion.
came through and messed that thing up in a good way. It was definitely
And
a
leave.
strike that we needed. And it is crazy, for as long as we had to wait to hear a result, it was like literally the biggest cherry on the top of the sundae to just be like, oh, because I know a bunch of people were like, I can't wait to see what they're gonna do on SNL because they literally are watching. They
Oh
like
yeah.
the writers and everybody, they're literally like etching and sketching as the time's going by, and they're like, boom, do this, because Maya Rudolph had the exact same outfit that Auntie Com had on.
Hmm.
Baby, that white suit.
Do you know it took them 85 minutes? They had 85 minutes to make that.
The suit.
Hmm. Like, I'm not. So Laverne was like, they couldn't just go buy it. I was like, nah, that
Uh,
wardrobe room, they was in there
Getting it
stitching.
together, and they are one of the best from the
Oh yeah,
wig down to the thread. So
that's
yeah,
another thing we talk about. The wigs, especially on their Black characters, like Keenan is one that I'm always looking at. Okay, what kind of wig does Keenan, or ball cap or something? And it's always
yeah,
on
on point.
point.
Yeah.
Tyler,
See.
make a call.
So yeah, that episode definitely was one that is for the books for sure.
Yeah,
Dave Chappelle came through and made it happen. So shout
yeah.
out to him.
Oh yeah.
Shout out to the whole cast. It's been real on point
Yeah.
this season going ahead. So yeah.
SNL is always hit or miss depending on the host and the musical act and what's going on in the world and
Mhm.
who's writing. But I think with Dave, and Dave is controversial just in general.
Right.
Like, but
Exactly.
I think what Dave does, whether you like him or not, he he drops a lot of gems and a lot of good points that are cleverly veiled behind humor. And he talked about that in the monologue. He was like, I'm up here like trying to tell facts and I have to do it with a punchline. So I'm like, oh yeah, that's kind of true. Cause like, I mean, just certain things, if you, like Lydia said, if you haven't watched it, you gotta go watch it. I mean, there's some funny stuff, but there's listen real deep and
Mm-hmm.
see what he's trying to talk about. Like he talked about his grandfather, which was a funny moment. People not wearing masks, and just it's a
Why we
lot.
still have to have that conversation? Ugh.
Yeah, what he said. So I'll give you what he said about the Klan. He was like, y'all can wear the mask at the Klan rally, but you can't wear it to Walmart.
You
I was
know.
like, facts. You can wear it at the meeting, but try to wear something else to help the public. No.
Nah.
Oh, we're good. Oh man. But yeah, to go check that out on Hulu or wherever you can watch it. It's definitely worth watching. All right,
It
I'm gonna switch gears because it's been a lot of sports going on. College
is.
football is back, which I'm happy for. Have not really watched the game
Uh,
because I've been terribly busy. So Saturdays is me trying to catch up on sleep or work of some kind. So there's that. But this past Saturday, so let's backtrack. So if you don't know, last year LSU won the national championship, and I'm a Bama grad,
Roll
so
Tide.
zero ties. So I bleed crimson and white, and crystal because we got the trophies for days.
Oh my God.
Uh, and so I was a little sore that LSU beat us, and then went on. I was a little sore. And this season they're not looking so hot. So I'm not. I'm like hot fluke. But on
Mm,
to a serious note, on Saturday, an LSU wide receiver named Coy Moore alleged that he was violated by police, um, not far from campus, and they drew guns on him. And he says that basically not only did like he felt violated so much, like as they were searching for a gun, they were unzipping his pants trying to search for a weapon, and he's telling them that he doesn't have anything. And this is one of the statements that he put out, and I quote: "As some celebrate the election of a new president, understand that the real problem has not changed. If I
mm,
did those incompetent officers that I was an LSU football player, there's no telling if I would have been here to tell the story. Yesterday wasn't a victory for America; it was only a distraction." So as you can imagine, this whole thing is under investigation.
right.
And of course, the officers are on paid administrative leave. So it's basically the whole script per usual. Investigation, paid administrative leave. We're really sorry about this. There's no place for racism in our country, in our city. We want people to feel safe and inclusive, blah, 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 blah. Uh, but the thing about like D1 schools, especially at PWIs, like
Yeah.
the football program is 90, probably 90, 95% black. Like,
Mhm.
and one thing that I know, even from watching Bama players on and off the field and interacting with some of them, it's I mean, that's their livelihood. Like some of them, that's their way out, and they're treated like almost like gods on campus and sometimes off campus.
Yeah.
But much like I have felt in certain spaces, some of that stuff does not keep you safe.
Oh
Like
no.
it won't stop somebody from profiling you, from hating you. It's still coming.
Right.
Uh it just depends on what kind of head is wearing, or badge is wearing, and for
Mm,
that fact. And so it was just kind of like disheartening that even during a pandemic, an election, recent social unrest, like we still are having instances where civil rights and liberties are being just completely violated.
yeah.
And it's just crazy. Like you there to get an education, like you're supposed to be a pillar of the community, even as a football player. And I'm sure this guy is, but for some reason, something happened to where these officers felt like they had to do all that to whatever. I don't
To
know.
do what? Right.
So it's same old song and dance. I'm kind of over it at this point. It's like I'm
Yeah.
just glad he wasn't a hashtag.
Right. And that's it. It almost gives you that same effect from the gentleman in Kenosha in Wisconsin.
Hmm.
I literally was so baffled at the fact that he lived, shot in the back 7 times in front of his children,
Oh yeah,
and made it out. He's paralyzed, unfortunately, but
yeah,
he made it out. And it's just like, when is it not going to be a sport anymore? You know,
yeah.
as many police officers treat young black men and women, children, as targets, as
Yeah.
some prize deer. You know what I'm saying? It's like, we're human. Why can't you just take it upon yourself to not shoot first? So
Hmm.
again, thankful that he's getting his justice, and that it's under investigation, and hopefully they do the right thing. And that's the next part of it. It's just like, yeah, he's not a hashtag, but let's just hope that the next steps are taken accordingly.
Yeah. So on to even more craziness. I just feel like ABC they are hit or miss depending on what day of the week it is. Or depending on what show, because I mean you have moments where like Blackish and Mix It, you're like, okay, we're finally getting there, and then you hear other
Yeah.
stuff like, oh, y'all what are y'all doing?
Right.
Over at ABC? Is the mouse making y'all do this stuff? For those that don't know, ABC is owned by Disney, so
Right.
just thought I'd just help some folks out because they were like, the mouse.
Give y'all some help.
Yeah. I don't watch this show, but I found this headline kind of interesting because there have been moments like this on different shows. So an actress named Carly Hughes was on a show called American Housewives, which is on ABC. She's leaving the show due to discrimination and a toxic work environment. So I did a little digging, and apparently she's the only character of color on the show.
That's such a surprise.
And she's the only like woman of color on the show.
It's like Gabrielle Union all over again, huh?
And I was like, hope you mean to tell me that on a major like network, y'all ain't find no diversity? Y'all couldn't put out a banner, have nobody standing on the street with a sign is looking for people of color? Nowhere. Okay. It's just like, I don't know. That's crazy. Like you said, the same thing happened to Gabrielle Union.
Yeah.
And then people will mask it as, well, that's not the case, or try to discredit, or you know it's coming. And it's like, if you have those environments, own up to it. Own up that you have an inclusivity problem, and you don't know how to correct it, and that you don't really like Black people or people of color or women, and we can move on. Just say that and leave. Look,
be upfront with it.
So,
but that would just take folks, being responsible enough to smell their own and be like, it does stink. Oh
no, I'd rather you be upfront with your racism. I like my racism like avert. That undercover stuff don't play no more.
like in your face, like
I need so I know how to roll. It's like, okay, I see you, I clock you.
Right.
So
I see you driving 90. All right.
I see you.
Can't have me.
All right, family. Well, that is the Black Top. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Got some headlines out the way. All right, so now it's time for our table read, which I'm excited for. What day was that? Was that Saturday I called you, Lydia? It was like, we got to scrap the whole.
Yeah.
We got to scrap the whole thing.
We had a whole other topic, and it was just like, no, we got something else. We got to
address this. We got to. So if you watched last week's video that we posted, since we weren't live, we talked about the election, both sides, how we felt about it, and everything.
Yeah.
And now we know that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are president and vice president elect. So what? We got some hope. Hope.
Jesus. Go Jesus.
When you pray, but it's great. I mean, Georgia going blue. I mean, that's like,
let's talk about it.
Let's unheard of. And it gave us all the warm and fuzzies and whatnot. But then you switch to Sunday and you see headlines like Trump refuses to acknowledge or concede, and you see evangelist, white evangelist, praying that the votes can be overturned and fraudulent. Not. So our episode title is one that makes sense, and it says "Till we reach that day?" question mark.
Hey,
So there's a very popular musical that I love and hold dear to my heart, and it's Ragtime the musical. And there's a song in the show "Till We Reach That Day," and it's I won't spoil it, but something happens and people are mourning for this person, and uh, one of the act one finale song is "Till We Reach That Day," and it talks about a day of hope, a day of peace, and we're
yeah.
all gonna come together and be kumbaya and whatnot, and I felt like a lot of that was supposed to happen on Saturday when we got the results. I think it was, in various cities. I know here in Atlanta, down in Midtown, over by like Piedmont and 10th,
They were turning
they
up.
were turning up. I think people were blaring the F Donald Trump song on
All the
CNN, like
things.
all the things.
Yeah.
Washington, Philly, like all these celebrations.
Paris.
It was in Paris.
Paris, France. They
Hey,
rang the door. They rang the church bells.
oh, come on, cathedrals. But that's what I'm saying. Like you thought it was almost like a scene out of The Wiz. Everybody wake up because of I just wanted to break out in my yellow and peel off, whatever I had.
Look, and put up.
I'm coming out. And you thought that it would be a dope next couple days. And it's like, no, we haven't gotten to that day yet.
Yeah.
And that's what worries me. I tweeted a couple days ago. I was like, the Make America Great folks real quiet. Y'all ain't online. Y'all not online. Y'all ain't posting. Like I said, I like overtness. I like you in my face with it.
The 90 to,
You know,
fast
I
races,
I need to see you. When
There you
y'all
are.
quiet,
I see you.
that look, when it's quiet, that's what worries me. Cause I
Yeah.
feel like y'all plotting on the low. And I gotta watch all
You
corners.
better watch.
Better
You
watch.
better
You know what I'm saying? Like it's and then you got the president who he almost like that tenant that they started the eviction proceedings on.
and
And
he just don't.
he just still chilling
It's like he's coming home. He sees the notice and he just rips it off.
and just put it in the trash.
And he's putting it in the trash, and it's like
Bro,
100 of them by this time. It's like, nah, bro, like it's
it's
time
time
to
to
go.
go. Go. We finna change all these locks.
Like, go ahead, spend the Thanksgiving with your family. The ones that want to keep talking to you.
Mhm.
Um, Go ahead and spend Christmas. But as soon as January hits,
Yeah. Yeah,
time
we
to
we
go.
we
Like,
changing
it's
all
time to
this.
go.
Look. And I was listening to
You
the
can't sit
CNN,
with us.
but I was listening to CNN this morning, and they were talking about how basically this dude is so petty. How petty is he?
How petty? Look,
This dude is so petty. He won't even release the funds. Like he's basically telling people not to release the funds in order to help these people peacefully transition. Like
and
that's
Joe's done this. He's just
yeah,
like, at the
yeah.
end
He's
of the
like,
day,
I'm just waiting on the money to clear. And then he's also telling like intelligence agencies to keep on with his budget for February. I'm like, bro, you don't have no job no more.
you
You were
about to
given
lose your job. Get this dance.
look. You like you were literally given your notice.
Bro, when they played that on SNL, when
Mm-mm.
Jim Carrey was just like, loser. When it was like, you were about
There.
to lose your job, I was like, bro, she's about to get a cut.
Yeah.
Okay? SNL was like, give me the you're about to lose your job, woman. Let's find her.
Let's cue
Let
that
let
up.
her know that she's about to get this cut real quick. Because
Cut
it's
that check.
it's it's perfect for this moment.
No, and it's I don't I one thing that I have a big problem with is I don't know if you saw on Twitter or on Facebook and everywhere, but there were evangelists
Yeah.
people of the cloth, people who are supposed to be keepers of the peace,
Uh-huh.
crying and kneeling and being hysterical because Joe and Kamala won. Literally praying that God would overturn the results. Caller, can you hear me? Caller, are you there?
Are you
Like,
still there?
like I literally watched a 5-minute video of Phil. Is this what you want? You gave us Amy Barron Cohen. Is that it, God? Like, what? Get out of here. And that's as a believer, that makes me cringe because I'm like, I don't want to be associated. Keep that
But
over
you
there.
know what? You just gotta discern for yourself
Mm-mm.
because everybody ain't for the word. And I think I was telling you, but it was some, supporters that were outside of precinct in Phoenix around the time that they were still waiting on the votes and stuff to come in for Arizona. And while these same protesters were out, saying like, count that vote, every vote counts. At first, you couldn't tell which supporters it was up until after they were done kneeling and done praying. Somebody comes out, they got this big old red, white, and blue flag and has the big old Trump sign on it. And it's just like, I was baffled. I was like, they pray? Like, it was just like, wait,
They said
really?
they pray.
And just for Arizona being the place that it is, it's kind of like a little teeter totter state too.
Mm.
They're kind of like the somewhat fast races, the ones you really can't catch. Like, oh, clocked him at 65. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I don't know. He looked.
I don't know, right?
I seen a
But
white cloth out his back pocket. I'm not sure.
so yeah, with that, I really just look at it as, if it has to get to that kind of measure, you would think that Christians, of which they portray themselves as, will not complain to God about something like that. It's more so just being like, what about the country? What about the mindset of which we are still in? Just as the gentleman was talking about in the interview about, the election being a distraction versus a joyous occasion. For some, it feels like that because you had a lot of people. We were talking about this on our election episode, how there are a bunch of people who didn't want to vote for either one.
Yeah.
But there was still record numbers of voters coming out.
Yeah.
So thankfully, those votes came through
Yeah.
and made that change, made that difference. But yeah, for all those folks that call themselves crying and whatnot for this man who literally has nothing for anyone but himself.
Yeah.
Hell, y'all should pray for yourselves. Like,
They say y'all spray for yourselves first.
I don't understand
it like I said, it worries me because if I'm a baby Christian, or if I'm trying to come to Christ like as a new person, that's a weird deterrent to walk into. Like, that's something that I be like, I don't, this ain't for me. I don't and the crazy thing is, and this is not point fingers, but it's pointing fingers. I've only seen these instances again with white evangelists, the people who are on TBN and the big mega church type places that have like the rock band that plays, and they got 2 or 3 black people on staff, and they let them preach every once in a while. They just
not
can't.
on the praise team, but on staff. Yeah.
Yeah. They got 2. They got 1 on the praise team, maybe 2.
Right. It's usually one
or 2.
Yeah.
And it's like, it just doesn't compute to me. Like, for me, I think at times religion is a very dangerous thing.
It can be,
If used incorrectly. And I was talking to my mom about this. I said, Christianity is one of those things, like, it is it is a good thing in its purest form. If you're
Mm-hmm.
teaching about the beliefs of Christ, the love and contentment and loving thy brother as thine own self and that kind of stuff, when you are literally preaching the love of it all.
Right.
But when you flip that script and use it as a weapon, mm-mm. Cut the mic, because that's what
The cameras.
cut the but that's seriously what happened when the Europeans came over to the country, when they were doing all that slaughter, and they said Jesus told us this was our land, manifest destiny, and killed all the indigenous people. And I was like, I don't think what was y'all smoking or something? Because I don't think he meant to literally
What was that
slaughter
tweet
an
that y'all had?
I
Because
don't think he meant to slaughter an entire people. That's kind of wild. Um, but it rubs me. It just makes me. But I guess I'll pose the question to you and I'll answer it afterwards. When do you think if ever, will we reach that day?
like I've been telling some folk, just as long as it has taken us to be here in this moment,
Mm,
unless mindsets change, unless we we as people come together, like literally channeling Obama, to the point
mm,
where we put that mirror in front of ourselves and say, okay, this is what it was, this is what it used to be, this is where we are now, where do we want it to go from here?
mm,
That day can be so good, it can be so joyous for us all. But when you have folks who think they're better than the other, when you have folks who feel like they are the majority, that they are superior, that they are all these things that's all the way up, and it's just like, no. I mean, that's just us as a society. If you want to go global with it, that's like on a whole different scale, because
mm,
that's that's so much to unpack. But here in these United States, it's it's so it's so daunting that we are still here. There's change, there's been a lot of good to come out, just from these past 4 years. I mean, just looking at all the folks that were elected into the Senate, into the House,
mm-hmm.
to on these local scales, that are on these city councils, that are judges and everything like that. It has been change. And I mean, even through this pandemic, I mean, looking at us, us
Yeah,
as artists losing our basically losing our livelihood to an extent. You
yeah,
know, we literally had entire industries shut down. And for some of them, they are very uncertain until they're kind of just like, we're closed until that's it. Nobody knows that end date. Nobody knows when it's going to happen. And I feel like that's where it is right now.
yeah.
Till we reach that day, it's literally just like until you know things change up, and until people start to think differently, feel differently, react differently. Just as we were saying about the police officers when they want to shoot first, it's just like, you don't have to always react in that way, because at the end of the day, you're taking away somebody's family member. You're taking away somebody that is important to another. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
it's almost just like, if you turn that mirror and just be like, boom, you sure you want to do this? Then I feel like it'll really jump in and scare some folks. And I think that's another thing. We are fearful people. It's like, if it's not of some type of normalcy, just like when the pandemic was happening, there were a lot of folks that were uncertain of like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. Mental health was literally on sky high. And a lot of people were uncertain of like, oh my God, I don't know what to do next. And it's like, look,
Yeah.
this is something that is going to be around for a while. It's not the normal is no longer. There is no
Mm,
normal. You have to make a new normal for yourself. So until that day comes, we
Question
are
mark.
we as a people got some work to do.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. When do I think we'll get there? That is a very good question. Um, I don't know. I don't.
That's fair.
I'll say it probably won't happen in my lifetime. And if it does, I'm for it. But I think there's so much ingrained. Like it's almost like I'm gonna try to give a little analogy. Hopefully it tracks.
Okay.
It's almost like these headphones that I'm wearing. If you tangle it up to a certain extent, it's almost impossible to get it to its normal and its usefulness.
Hmm.
That's almost how our is structured. There is good somewhere in there. There is a beginning. Excuse me. There is a clear beginning and a clear end
Yeah.
to it all, but it's so twisted and wrapped in itself. It's gonna take a lot of concentration, a lot of dedication in order just to untangle the whole thing.
Right.
It's gonna have to go inch by inch by inch.
Hmm.
But when you have distractions and other people who are against trying to untangle it, it prolongs it. It prolongs the usefulness of it at the end
Hmm.
of the time. Oh, I just cooked that thing up like a good
Come
old
on,
Sunday
brother
sermon.
Kenny.
Shout out to two of my parents being ministers.
Teach
Hey,
us. Teach us.
but that's like it takes so much to be dedicated to something like that to say, I see the problem. I see where I need to pull here, need to
Yeah.
pull there. Like it's strategic. But when you have people who are hell bent on just discord everywhere, like
Yeah.
literally, I watched a friend of mine posted of a clan member, and they want a race war. Like they want a race war, and I'm like, whoo! Watching that video, I was like, you got to be joking, right? This is a joke. Like you want
Anything
a
but.
race war,
Yeah.
and just to hear the non conviction in his voice, he's like, yeah. I mean, the clan ain't even got to kill them no more. The black people no more. Just drop some liquor and some guns off in their neighborhood, and they'll do the work for you. I'm like, wow, that's what y'all think of us. Uh,
And in some parts of that, it's true.
Very true.
Yeah.
Now, some parts of that whole sentiment. I mean, we had what King Von. I'm not young enough to know who that rapper is, but
I'm not you. No, I'm with you. I had
I
no
was
idea
like,
who the baby was. I'm like, oh, rest in peace. I felt the same way about Pop Smoke,
yeah, I
Juice
didn't
WRLD,
really know
all
who
these
Pop
babies. I'm
Smoke
like,
was.
I don't know who they
And
are.
and one little dude today, little Road, little Toad, or somebody like that,
You know what?
somebody little turned himself in for murder. Like
Wow.
y'all,
Yeah.
my people who are called by my name. Like, what are y'all doing? This is pure ammunition for them to go. Well, they killing each other. Do Black Lives? It's just like
Yeah.
it's this constant reaffirming that regardless, these Black Lives matter. And like I said, I don't think we'll get to that point until everybody recognizes the other person's worth as well
Yeah.
as their own.
Yeah.
Um, and it starts at the core. It really does. It starts at the whole systematic racism thing. I think dismantling that is the key to it
Absolutely.
all.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't personally it'll happen in my lifetime. Just because I think it's so supercharged right now. You got stuff online, you got stuff in the media. It's just everywhere. Like
Right.
you don't know where to turn, who like you, who don't like you. And I
Yeah.
think what the election showed me is, again, whatever accolade or title I have, there are people out there with the mindset of 45 that we know and call our homie or our best friend or whatnot. And Lydia knows this, and I'll say this publicly. I'm Martin at my core. I'm non-violence. I don't believe in violence like that. But these past couple years, I've been pushing more Malcolm's way. I think at this point, I got more Malcolm than I do Martin. I'm like, look, you come around me and mine with some MAGA this and that, we gonna have words. And more than that, and to a certain extent, because I don't feel like white evangelicals, you can sit in that same spot. You can't be like, I love the Lord, I love you as my Christian brother, also make America great and all that. Because the ideologies don't they don't
They
they
don't
aren't
match up.
compatible. They don't match
Right.
up.
Right.
The God that I know was a person of compassion and equality of all.
Mm, mm,
He
mm.
was a radical. He was very much, he didn't really, I mean, he was trying to save people's souls. He was like the high priest and all that. Y'all can go over there while y'all taxing people to be saved.
Right.
Uh, I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's hard for me. Like I said, I grew up in the church, so it's hard for me to compute somebody who claims to also be in the church to align themselves in something like that. I personally can't be friends, homies, cool. Like, I just can't. Now, somebody may otherwise, like all these posts I've seen. Well, let's just reach across our brethren, and I'm reaching for the remote.
Turn it
And
off.
look, and that bottle of water that be sitting on my nightstand. That's all the stuff I'm reaching for.
Stay hydrated. Stay woke.
Mm-mm.
But
I don't know.
I pray that it comes though, because even if it doesn't happen in our lifetime, like right off, because we do live in an instant society as well. We do expect things to just happen right then and there, but it just comes from, like you said, in the core, and us just fighting for the change that we want to see. You know, you also putting in your time and your effort to make that change relevant so that our children, our children's children, their children can be like, okay, Granddaddy Jerry is like, he made that happen, whatever. So
Ooh,
it's
not
like,
Granddaddy Jerry.
Granddaddy G,
Shit, I'm
Granddaddy
trying to think about
GC.
somebody calling me dad at some point in my life.
Right.
Not granddad.
But see, I feel so, what's the word? I guess it's like further generational about it,
Mm-hmm.
to really want to understand, like, okay, what will our kids be seeing? Like, what are they really going to be coming into? And I found a lot of friends, some of them that are married, some of them who are thinking about having kids and things, or even just friends that we just talk about that. Some old teacher friends of mine as well, where they're kind of skeptical about bringing kids into a world that, one, doesn't look at Black and brown kids as they do white kids, who don't have that advantage and probably won't up until, like you said, whenever we reach that day.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's that part that you don't want to discard yourself from, growing and, pushing forth your legacy.
Yeah.
Because if you are an awesome person, like, I definitely want to see a little awesome you. And it's just like, no, like, bring them up in a way to where they should know right from wrong, from where they will understand that, yes, there's going to be some wrong, some bad, some ugly in this world, but you make it a point to make it better, to make it beautiful.
Yeah.
So I as you can see, I'm more on my Martin.
Yeah, she evens us out.
Right. And don't
It's
get
like,
it twisted. You know, when I put on my Club Master frames, I'll be channeling my Malcolm.
hey,
But yeah, I've always and I've read many things about both of those gentlemen, and it definitely puts the thing in perspective that at the end of the day, all they ever wanted was change and equality
yep,
for themselves, for their families, and
in the community
you
they
know,
come from.
and their community, right? And it's like, you know, whether it, you know, brought violence or non-violence, it's like in this day, like what is really going to get us there?
Mhm.
Yeah, it can start from, you know, having a conversation, and then hopefully from that conversation it will be an action. And then hopefully that action will, you know, register to the next person, and that it will stick
Yeah,
and, you know, get stronger, if anything,
yeah.
that it goes
Like
from being small to big.
like I said, it's definitely a generational concern.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because for me, I know I was definitely like, I don't know if we're gonna be living in the States if
I
things
know.
don't if things
Yeah.
go right at a certain point. Because
Yeah.
as a black child growing up, and like I said, I don't have kids. I just have cousins who are kids now, and I fear for them, especially my guys, because I know what it was like to grow up in spaces where you weren't accepted and
Mhm.
you had different rules that you had to abide by, and there was always this worry. Like my mom, I done moved out. I pay my own bills and all that. My mom calls me on the regular just to check in with me. And I'm like, all right, I'll call you in a couple days. No, I'm gonna call you tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
I'll call you when I want to. I'm like, and you can't argue
Well,
because
you
you
are the only,
I am
right?
on it.
So
I mean I have two half sisters, but I'm my
yeah,
mom's only child.
yeah.
Um
So you about to get this call.
yeah.
Okay.
I was like, don't call me. I'll call. She was like, no, I'm gonna call you when I want to. But I know it comes from a place of protection. Like,
Oh yeah.
I moved out. I'm in a predominantly white neighborhood.
Hmm.
Um, and there's certain things that any parent worry about. And now thinking about my own future kids, I'm like, wow, I'm gonna have to protect them even well after they're gone. I'm
Right.
gonna feel that need uh to be there in some
Yeah.
form or fashion or and train. And I just want to leave them in a position where when they're my age, they can be like, oh, I don't got no worries. I can go and do such and such and be completely fine and not have to worry or look over my shoulder or, just all these things. Like, I think after the election, I didn't really go out for a while. I was a little, I was a little skeptical. I was like, shh, let somebody run up.
Oh yeah.
Because
Oh,
you didn't know what you were walking into.
true. Yeah.
Because I mean, there were so many things online about white supremacist groups, and you had rallies down at Centennial, and
Hmm.
you know this whole MAGA ideology almost. It's almost like I'm gonna just call it what it is. It's a cult.
A cult. Yeah.
It's a cult. I'm sorry. Well, not sorry, but it's a cult. This cult ideology, you don't know what you're getting.
Yeah.
And that's like I said, that's the scary part. It's the quiet, subtle stuff that
Yeah.
worries me the most. Um, and so yeah, I just want to be in a position to where our children and our grandchildren have something for themselves that looks way better than what we have. Like you said, we've made progression, uh, but you have to remember like segregation and Jim Crow won but what 50, 60 years
50,
ago.
almost 60 years. Yeah.
That's kind of that's And that's still mind-boggling to me. We only 60 years out, and we've only moved the needle this far.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping. Well, I'll be another 60 years. I'll be 80, 88. So I'm hoping by the
Ooh.
time we push to that, we are well in a better spot.
Let's
Cause
hope.
you know,
Let's hope. There's a lot of older folks now that was living during that time, even before
yeah,
that. Like you said, it's generational, and some of them don't believe in the change. Some of them look at what's going on now, and they feel like it's gone downhill
yeah,
because of where things are. So it's just all a mindset, at the end of the day, because if you stay in that same mind frame, then there isn't going to be change. But
true.
yeah, it was touching for me too, just because I worked the voting poll for the first time on election day,
Mm,
and for the most part, it was pretty chill. Um, the precinct that we were in, like we had about 300 folks come through, and I remember like looking at the results before I left. It's in the machine, like after you print out your ballot receipt, you
mm,
send it through, and it's basically like this big old long receipt that'll print out with all the results. And I was one of the people that basically like did the check-in. So you give me your ID, I give you your voter's
mm,
card, and you go on about your way. And I remember just like, having that customer service type of feel, just being like, hi, how you doing? Are you
yeah.
ready to vote today? People that came in, like it was a bunch of folks that came in with their kids. So it was cool for them to have like that experience, just being like, oh, going to vote with mom and dad. And it's like, are you going to vote today too? Cool. All right. That's it. That's it. And afterward, looking at the results, out of those 310 people, 228 went to Trump. And I remember like leaving out, and there were folks that were coming out with like those little fold up chairs, like you would take it to like a concert or something,
Mm-hmm.
like sitting there and waiting to get the results, and sitting there to just like, yeah. And I kind of was just like, what's happening now? What are we doing?
Oh, y'all weird out
And
here.
I mean, like I said, it was it was pretty chill after a while, but just that whole effect, it was just like, wow, like it doesn't matter how much you dislike, give the effect and smile for folk. They still just gonna go and have their mindset to be like, I'm gonna hit that bubble to vote for this person. And
Yeah.
you don't want to judge a book, but it did kind of put a damper. Like, dang, I smiled at
Half of y'all.
like literally most of y'all, and it's like,
Y'all still gonna vote for this
let me
man.
down, Shrek. You hurt me bad, Shrek. You hurt me real bad. Like that's literally I felt like. So,
I
boy,
mean, so the question still stands till we reach that day. I guess we'll find out. So,
shall see.
all
Gonna
right,
get
y'all.
that, brother.
All right, family. Well, that was our table read. And like I said, for our first timers, one last segment that we have before we wrap up for the night is our BTR. This is our Breathe, Think, Release. It's kind of where we just kind of take a moment to kind of let all that seep in and whatnot. And so I'm going to take it away if you don't mind, Lydia. But
Your thing.
um, I think we have to do self-evaluations on ourselves. And I don't mean physically. Now, if you want to do a self-examination on yourself, that's your business. But it's one thing that I've talked about for a couple weeks now on the show, and it's a self-evaluation of your morals, your core, and your heart. Because if you are truly a person of belief, no matter what your belief system, if you're a person who believes in a higher power, in God and Allah and all these things, their teachings talk about good faith and good humanity and practices that forge ahead in a progressive manner, to love your brother, love your sister, love your community, to uplift one another. And I think if you're in those spaces, you got to check yourself. because if you're aligning yourself with those individuals who don't exhibit any of that, then you really have to ask yourself, what do I believe in? What do I think? How do I feel about my colleagues who don't look like me? Those are things you have to ask, because we can't get to that day until we first fix our own stuff. And I'm not exempt from that. I continuously do self-examinations on the daily. How I interacted with, was that me? Did I say that wrong? Why do I have an attitude today? What's wrong with me? Because I need to figure out what inside of me is causing this outward response. That's what I'm talking about. So much so you are so aware of everything that you're doing, everything you're thinking, how you're treating the person across from you, next to you, behind you, whatever. Because what these past 4 years have shown, and this election have shown, is that America at its core has a problem. How we are treating each other, and like I said, it's that entanglement. That's all it is. We're so entangled in systematic racism, into elitism, into classism, into capitalism, into all these isms, that we don't know who the hell we are. And what do you do when you don't know who you are? You lash out. You attach to something that you think might be you, because it has a power vacuum to it. It pulls you in. So I honestly don't think we'll get to that day until every single person and communities of people begin to check their own heart position and their core values, and then teach people the right way. I mean, the next generation is watching, they're learning, they're listening, and it's up to us to give them a better thing. I mean, Hamilton, that's why it's so cool. In Dear Theodosia, it talks about, we built this America to leave to the next generation. And they did. They left something. Now, whether it was good or bad, you know, that's up to your own. But the message was, at least from the Hamilton standpoint, is that we're building this not for ourselves, because we're leaving a legacy that we may not even necessarily enjoy, but we're leaving it for the next generation to enjoy these things and even make it better. So I like I said, I honestly think until we can address those unconscious and conscious biases, things that we might have learned growing up that we can just discard now because it doesn't serve us anymore, we won't get to that day, at least not in our lifetime. But I think the progression to move the needle within the next 60 years is possible. So that is my BTR moment, Miss Lydia Aku.
Well said, sir.
All right, y'all. Well, I was hungry, so I'm a.
Always hungry after we finish.
I got a high metabolism, man. I be working out and running and stuff, But I have food and dinner waiting downstairs. So.
Right.
All right, y'all. Well, y'all can catch us next week. We promise we are finally gonna get to this segment that we've been holding out on.
Right. What's gonna
For
happen?
like 3 weeks. We're finally gonna get to it next week. So please stay tuned. It's really cool. It's something that me and Lydia, I think that was probably one of our first episodes that we were like really excited about putting together. So next time, 7:30 right here, Facebook Live. Cannot wait. So stay tuned. Follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, all the things at Blake Table Read, and catch up. This episode will be here, but if you're on the go and can't watch it on Facebook, it will be uploaded tomorrow. So you'll be able to watch it by noon tomorrow. So be on the lookout. All right, y'all. Well, it's been great. And this has been Black Table Read, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Peace.